Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Last Word Sports. Today, we got another banger for you. Today, Scotty and I will be
Folks,
discussing The Last Dance, the 97-98 Bulls documentary that just finished
really
airing,
a Michael Jordan documentary.
the Michael Jordan documentary, per se. The one that Michael Jordan approved and let everybody else be in, we should say. But we're just going to give you our overall impressions, what we liked, what we didn't like, what we learned. Um, and yeah, we're just going to have a nice, lighthearted video, nice discussion about The Last Dance and the greatest player of all time. So, Scotty, overall, what did you think of The Last Dance?
I loved it, man. I mean, even though I wasn't alive to see Michael Jordan play, I've always thought that he was the best player of all time. You look at his stats, his highlights, etc. But when you watch this lost footage and you hear these other NBA legends, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, all these guys talking about him, he's so surreal. He's on a pedestal. He's above the rest of us mere
Dude,
mortals. It's incredible.
To hear Larry Bird say that was God disguised as Michael Jordan. And Larry Bird's like an all-time great already, man. Like top 5 player ever. And he's saying he's literal God. Can a
I mean,
compliment get any better than that?
the way that they just kind of built this storyline with so much drama and emotion, and they humanized this character of Michael was so fascinating because Michael, as one of the most iconic, international stars
Oh yeah.
we've ever seen, right, has always been aloof, distant. He's always been separated from the media. Had some bad experiences, like with the gambling thing that they talked about. So he's tried to keep his personal life very personal. And this was a much more introspective look. I don't know that I'd ever really seen an interview with Michael Jordan. He doesn't have like a social media account. And to see him sit down with him, Phil Jackson, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Barack Obama interviewed for this docu-series, right?
Obama, right? Obama was. Yo, was it just me, Scotty? This for all you 2K players out there. Was it just me, or whenever David Aldridge came onto the screen, I just wanted to click the button to skip him.
Yeah.
I really didn't care what David Aldridge had to say.
Yeah, I mean,
Having Ahmad Rashad
I
though,
thought
that was good.
Ahmad Rashad was a better kind of like commentator aspect because he was closer to Michael,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, I really didn't care what David Aldridge had to say though.
Yeah. I think the most fascinating part of this was just examining the psyche of the ultimate winner, the true zero-sum game, win
He
at all
took
costs.
everything
I
personally
will do everything, sacrifice everything to win this
to
game,
win
to
this
rip
game.
your throat out. Like you said, he's just got that killer mentality. And to see how that created the Michael Jordan that we have come to know and love, and how it fuels him even to this day, saying, I could beat my Hornets players one-on-one. It
Yep.
runs inside of me that I didn't get a chance to defend and win a 7th championship. It's just so fascinating to see him. And to see, this controversy too around his intense style of leadership where he would get into fights with players. He would bully players. And some people say, hey, that's not okay. Like Will Perdue said, hey, he crossed the line a lot of times. He was vicious. He was an asshole. But some of these guys, Steve Kerr said, hey, he wanted the best for
He
us. He
got the best out of me.
up, and they won 6 titles. So it's just, yeah.
I think Steve Kerr is the best example of it, man. He's a guy who's just like, no, he's a white guy. He's a small white guy in the NBA. Like, he's going to be a shooter. He's going to be a passer. He's not athletically gifted like Jordan and Pippen. He's not tall enough to get rebounds like Rodman. All he can really do is just play his heart out. And Jordan got the best out of him, man. Jordan pushed him, and he pushed back, and he said, I want to win, and I'm going to show you how much I want to win. And that's how Michael trusted him. And I think watching this has really gave me or like put a lot of respect on Michael Jordan's name because lots of people are like, oh, his leadership tactics, they don't work. His leadership tactics, the relationships he leaves after are bad. Well, as you can see, all these guys agreed to be on the documentary. So clearly, like, either they're branding themselves at the age of like 50 or something, or they're doing this because they won with Michael and they knew what it took to win with Michael.
The really fascinating thing here too, Chuck, is a lot of people are complaining, like Scottie Pippen. They say his story was told all wrong. You
Same
look
thing
at
with
like
Horace Grant.
the biggest moments for Scottie Pippen in this documentary.
It
right?
was him signing the 7-year deal.
It was him not signing and doing the foot surgery at the start of the season because he wanted his summer,
Because he
right?
wanted
It was him
to
refusing to
spite
go
Jerry
in when Phil Jackson gave Tony Kukoc the shot.
Mhm.
It was him getting back hurt in Game 6 of the Utah series in '98, right? All these iconic moments of Scottie Pippen in the documentary were all of his worst moments.
Mhm.
And unlike the same thing for Horace Grant, right? He said Horace Grant's a snitch, whatever. Horace Grant kind of like let out the Jordan rules. That was kind of what was implied. And he was like, no, this is crap. I never did that. And
Mhm.
Craig Hodges, when Jordan said, hey, it's a cocaine circus, Craig Hodges came out and said, you have no right to say that,
Yeah,
to
you
say that
can't say
these
that.
other players had cocaine, like you're destroying their families. But the truth is, to me, this wasn't a documentary as much as it was more similar to a regular movie in the sense of, although it was 10 hours long,
Yeah.
it's Michael Jordan's story. It's his narrative. It's not necessarily a documentary like it's billed of just the season of the 97-98 Bulls. They rarely bring up any stats, especially about any of the other players. It's
mainly Jordan, man.
It's his narrative. You know what I mean? It's him describing his life and his work. His perspective is told. The way that Jordan saw it was probably, hey, Scottie wasn't there for me at these key moments. The way that Jordan saw it, I've been
I had to
betrayed.
step up.
Somebody snitched on me in this Jordan Rules book. And so it was more of just like this movie style story that was told from Jordan's perspective. And that was the fascinating thing is people are saying certain perspectives were, underwhelming for a documentary, that they weren't highlighted enough. That's because that's the way that Michael probably saw them.
100% agree. And going off of Michael's narrative, it was very interesting to hear all the other players' backstories too, along with Michael's narrative. So kind of like Michael's sidekicks, if you will, so that you can kind of like put a backstory to the face or figure out, oh, this is what this guy went through and this is how Michael pushed him to become the best he could be. Really going off of Dennis Rodman in particular, man.
Yeah.
The Dennis Rodman episode was probably my favorite episode of the documentary, if I'm being completely honest. Listening to that man talking about rebounding and his work ethic towards rebounding.
You was incredible.
It's unreal. And he went over it so fast to the point where this guy studies hardcore rebounding, and he will watch guys like star players miss shots so he knows what kind of spin they put on the ball. He knows if it hits the rim in this place, it's going to end up in this place on the court. It's unreal to listen to this guy talk about rebounding. And he had the whole women thing, and he had the Vegas thing, he had the partying phase, but
he was a basketball genius
he was a basketball
came
genius.
to play.
And Phil and Michael, when he was there, they knew he was going to work his ass off to win, because Michael knew he wanted to win just as badly. Well, maybe not just as badly, but enough.
He wanted to win better.
Michael's
on his own tier.
He's on his own
I
tier.
think that's what they made clear. If anything was clear.
And listening to Kobe in the doc, man, too.
Yeah, I mean, they had so many different guys interviewed, and that was such a cool part. Was just how many perspectives they brought in to just all of them were just in awe of Michael.
They put in Gary Payton.
That was hilarious.
They put in Gary Payton just so Michael could mock Gary Payton.
The one thing they did Gary Payton dirty with that editing job too, because he's probably saying more, right? The one thing that I will say upset me was he said that the Pacers gave them the second toughest time in the East outside of the Pistons. Come on, bro. The Knicks, he's sleeping, man. The Knicks totally pushed him harder. The Knicks took him. I know the Pacers took him to 7 in '98. The Knicks took him to 7 in '92, and then the next year, the Knicks were the only team throughout their title run to go up 2-0 on the Bulls. And we pushed them harder. I know we lost, but we pushed them harder than the Pacers.
Bro, it's because Michael had a grudge at that point, man.
Okay, Michael has grudges.
Scottie dunked on Patrick Ewing and ended him.
When you say Michael has a grudge, remember LaBradford Smith?
When does
LaBradford Smith scored 30 points. He just had a good game, and that's it. Nothing else. He had a good game, and so Michael instantly hated the guy enough to just go after him.
Because LaBradford, after the game, said good game to Michael.
Michael said that wasn't even true. He made that up. He made that up for himself to motivate himself to go out and attack this guy. He's vicious. He's incredible, man.
His will to win is unlike no other.
Yeah, I mean, and I think even
Probably in any
when you
sport.
when you look at it, it's almost like not as much as he loves winning. Because when you see him winning, it's relief, it's exhaustion, it's this flood of emotions. It's more of even he just hates losing.
It's
He
losing.
hates the thought of anybody else being thought of in the same sentence as him. Right when he lost to Shaq in the Magic that year, even though like he had played like
He
18
played
games that year,
baseball.
he was
He
all
played
all
the
off
entire
season long.
year.
He was training harder than ever before. He was coming for Shaq. He was
And he
coming
came
for the
back and had
Magic.
the best year ever.
Yeah, man.
Like until the Warriors came along. But like it don't mean a thing without a ring. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's just it was fascinating to watch. It was really fun to watch BJ Armstrong on the Hornets afterwards.
Dude, that was great.
And he has that one good game, and then the
He's
Michael.
like, I know what's gonna happen.
Okay, we're done. And he, yeah. If you haven't checked out The Last Dance, man, what are you doing? Like, honestly, what are you doing? If you're a basketball fan and you haven't watched The Last Dance, you have just severely not been a part of probably one of the best basketball documentaries, if not the best basketball documentary we've seen ever.
For sure.
I would definitely say this is better than any ESPN 30 for 30, but just based on the amount of content we've gotten.
Yeah, I mean the depth they go through, it's 10 hours long.
It's 10 hours long, 10 episodes.
Like my mom, who I watched it with, she was like, I hate this. It's too jumpy. They keep going back from 98 to 84 to 80. You know, she's like, I don't get it. But if you're a true basketball aficionado, if you're familiar with the timeline already, then it's just perfect.
Mm-hmm. It was so much better because you would hear them be talking about something in 98, 90, or 97, 98, and you'd be like, oh, I wonder if they're going to jump to it. And then they immediately jump to it, and you get all excited. Because I heard I think I heard Michael talking about, like, the flu game or something in, like, episode 9.
The food poisoning game.
The food poisoning game, right? And then they jump, and there was just the right amount of fan service in there. You know what I'm saying? Kind of just like, yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I think this is going to do it. We just want to have a quick little discussion with everyone on The Last Word who's seen The Last Dance. If you're not subscribed already, feel free to click that subscribe button. Like if you liked it. Share if you want other people to watch The Last Dance. And yeah, thank you for watching. This has been The Last Word.